Welcome to the Main Basketball Rankings podcast. I am your host, basketball data nerd, Lucas McNally, and hopefully you had a very nice holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever, all that. Hopefully you had a better one than I did. Mine, I'll I'll just say that on Friday I bought three lottery tickets because when it gets over $1 billion, you buy three lottery tickets and dream of the wonderful things you'll be able to do with the $1 billion, like buy shot clocks or whatever. And then I matched zero numbers on three tickets, which is really hard to do. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's about how this week is going. That checks out. So yeah, I had a little bit of a break here. The newsletter kept going. I didn't get to any games this weekend because it was just not great. So moving on. The game of the day, I did. Oh, I was going to mention that I did get this shirt from my brother, which I'm realizing now makes it look like I have a hole in my chest where the Celtics logo is matching the green screen behind me. All right, so the game of the day, we had two very different games of the day. The first one was Windham Cheverus. That was everyone had that one circled. It was Cheverus got down big early, or not so much early. They were down 13 with I think it was 7 minutes left, something like that. Came all the way back, got it within one. Leo McNabb hit a couple really big jumpers down the stretch, hit a three with a minute to go, and Wyndham was able to hold on. They ended up winning by four, which was exactly what the model predicted the game to be. And mostly they did it through the free throws and hanging on for dear life against that Cheverus rally. Really great game. Could be a preview of a tournament game. And they're going to play again. So that was a lot of fun. The place was packed. That was the game I really wanted to go to this weekend, but that just wasn't happening. So maybe I'm going to try to get to the other one down in Windham. The important thing, the cool thing about that was that Cole Purvis and Thomas came down and they came back from break and they were able to do the game. And Thomas Curtis, sorry, my brain is not working this week. You don't want to know. So that was cool to see them do the game, or at least hear them do the game, and they sounded great as always. So hopefully they keep coming back because they're awesome at this. And then Oxford Hills Brunswick was less good. It was, let me find the tweet. I didn't go to that one either. I'm glad I didn't go to that one. It was 33-3 after one quarter, which, yikes. So 33-3. There's some context here. Oxford Hills is very good. That's context number one. We all know that. But Brunswick was missing four starters, and if you're missing four starters, you're not going to beat very many teams, and you're definitely not going to beat Oxford Hills. So Oxford Hills won that one. That was a big one, and but you can't really. I don't know how much you can read into that game and use that as a measuring stick because you're missing four starters. With four starters, like the number of teams that could win a game down four starters against anybody is very small. So what do you do? I think you throw that one out and just doesn't matter. They're not going to play again. And so what are you going to do? The big news is that dunk technicals are back. We had two dunk technicals on Saturday. First one, Ellsworth's Kyle Kenny got one in the first quarter against Old Town. It was pretty soft. It was, it wasn't the ones we were getting in the Peter Webb heyday where the guy would just like his finger would touch the rim just a little bit and it'd blow the whistle. I mean, he hung a little bit, but it was more of a stop your momentum sort of hang on the rim as to not fall on your ass. Hanging on the rim, it looked pretty clean to me. And then the second one, you can see the video of that if you want at the Ellsworth Student Section's Instagram. If you want to go find that, Ellsworth won 61-29 to avenge their only loss of the year. And will that be enough to get them into the top 10? We will see in a few minutes. The second one was at the Augusta Civic Center. Camden's Nolan Ames got that one in the fourth quarter. Same thing, breakaway, trying to stop your momentum, not fall, not hurt yourself. You can find that on the Main Coast TV's Vimeo page, which I've been trying. I tried to get permission to share that here, but I haven't heard back from anybody yet. So can't share it without permission because that's the law. You can't just throw an Instagram filter on something and go, oh, I don't know. Pretty stupid. But the bigger thing is, what are we doing? Are we going to do this again with the dunk technicals? It was embarrassing. Nobody looked good in that. We all looked like a bunch of idiots. I mean, I didn't look like an idiot because I, from the jump, was saying, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? It just makes us look like a bunch of yokels, though. We're had a little bit of a come up with Cooper Flag. Everyone's like, oh, Maine basketball. All right, cool. And now we can't go back into the dunk technicals. We just can't do it. I swear to God. As Greg Levinsky tweeted out, it is the dumbest rule in sports. It truly, if it's not the dumbest rule in sports, it's up there. It might, you can make a case for the flop technicals point of emphasis because that's been pretty stupid. And I don't think anyone's enjoying that experience either. So maybe we get rid of both of them. Maybe just stop calling dumb technicals. I mean, we don't need that. Do we need dumb technicals? Save the technicals for when somebody's screaming at the ref too much, or someone uses the F word, or real things. Not these like flops that are sort of flops, maybe flops, or just maybe like the kid's 5'3" and there's some 6'5" kid rolling down the lane and he's like, I want to bail out a little bit early here because this looks like it's going to hurt. That's not worthy of a technical. It's all right. What I can show you, though, speaking of not sharing video that you're not allowed to share, which you should not do because it is bad. It is a dick move. Is I can show you this buzzer beater from Greeley. This is, I've heard two different, so there's the larger story here, is that Greeley's live stream, their huddle live stream, quit with like a minute 45 left in the game, and they were down, I think 7-5, something like that, 7 or 5. And if you would think if anybody in recent years has learned that the game might go longer than scheduled, you would think it would be the team that had an 8 overtime game very, very recently. You would think they would go, oh, you know what? Maybe we should leave a little extra time on the thing in case something happens. Anyway, so it ends, the thing ends. No one can find the score. Joe Bailey's looking for the score. I'm looking for the score. And then all of a sudden we hear, oh my gosh, Greeley won it on a buzzer beater. So here's the buzzer beater. I've heard 0.4 seconds left. I've heard 0.6 seconds left. So I'm not sure which is right. Either way, no time for a dribble, catch and shoot. That's it. Here we go. That is Cade Ippolito, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, calling game. He's having a really good year, by the way. And I've seen Greeley once, and he looks really good in person too. So, but that's one of the cooler buzzer beaters you're going to see probably all season. I have one comment. The vertical video on a sports highlight it's not great, man. You need the 16:9. You need to be able to see more of the floor, more of what's happening, more of the action here. It's just I know the kids love the vertical video for the TikTok and whatever, but for something like this, you want the widescreen cinema experience. That's my old man take, or maybe that's my filmmaker take, or whatever it is. Go with the widescreen, especially on a play like that. You're going to want the extra room because you might lose him. You might lose the play in the narrower frame. Anyway, all right, so let's get into the top 10. We'll start with the girls. Some call them runners up, others receiving votes, whatever. We'll count down a couple on the outside just so you're not sitting there going, oh, but what about these guys? They're having a really good year. Number 15 is Old Town. Number 14, Coney. Number 13, Madomic Valley. Number 12, Biddeford. And number 11 is Gorham. Okay. Number 10, Oceanside. They are 3-2. They this week defeated number 70 Yarmouth 56-19. When Oceanside gets rolling, even without Bailey Breen, they can score it up in a hurry. They are plus 67 on the season. They are averaging 55.5 points a game. That's 15th best in the state. They have the two losses this year they have are to Coney and Camden. There's nothing wrong with those. And this week they will be at Lincoln Academy and at number 34 Hamden. Number 9 is Spruce Mountain. The Phoenix are 6-0. They're sticking at 9. They were 9 last week, but in the one episode I didn't record because life. This week they defeated number 38 Wells at home 40-35. They are plus 102 on the season. And next up for them, they have number 13 Madomic Valley at home on January 2nd. And they have number 30 Lake Region. Lake Region, if you've been paying attention, that's kind of the end of this like really rough stretch for Lake Region. Anyway, number 8 is Brunswick. 4 starters down. Just, you feel bad, but what are you going to do? It's your four starters down. You just try to weather the storm until you can get people back, whoever you can get back. And, you do your best. And you're the defending champ. So there's what's that rule? You can't really complain if you're the defending champs because you got the gold ball. Anyway, they lost to number 1 Oxford Hills 71-25. They're plus 45 on the season, so that took a bit of a hit with the Oxford Hills game. Up next, they are home against Falmouth. They should get that one. And then looking a little bit ahead, they're going to get Oceanside next week, so hopefully they can get some of those starters back for that game. Number 7 is Caribou. They are 6-1. They beat Washington Academy 69-30. They are plus 172 on the season. That's 7th best in the state, best in Class B. Madeline Dupree is, she might win Miss Basketball. Might be Ella Pelletier. We'll see. I think she's probably going to be a finalist, but Caribou doesn't seem to have a lot of luck with getting people to the finalist level lately. So we'll see. Next up, they have Foxcroft and a very feisty John Baps. Number 6 is Mount Ararat. They're 4-1. They've dropped 2 spots, entirely, because they were idle. They haven't played since December 19th. I think they played in a Christmas tournament that didn't count. I'm pretty sure they did. They are plus 110 on the season. Up next, they have Madomic Valley, and then they go to Coney to play the Rams. Number 5, no longer lurking, is Lawrence. They are 6-0. They've been one of the, hey, but where's Lawrence? What about Lawrence? People keep saying. Because, Lawrence is really, really good. Madeline Provost, awesome team. Everyone knew they were a top 10 team, and now they are a top 10 team. They beat Hamden this week 52-38. They are plus 198 on the season, which is 4th best. They're averaging 70.2 points a game. That's 2nd best behind Valley at 75. And this week they're going to go to Gardner and to Brewers, so they might move up a little more. Number 4 is Marshwood. They're 6-0. They dropped 2 spots because they've been idle since December 21st. So see, you don't play, you drop. That's just how it works. It's a counting stat, essentially. They are plus 96 on the season. They are averaging 57.3 points a game. That's 11th best in the state, and they have a strength of schedule of 13th hardest. So, plus 96, 11th highest scoring team in the state against the 13th toughest schedule is pretty good. That's how you get to number 4. Up next, they have number 12 Biddeford, Falmouth, and they go to Deering. Number 3 is GNG. They are 6-2. They're sticking at number 3. They beat York 59-41. Beat number 16 Edward Little 31-28, which was, that was, I think, a close one. I seem to remember that being like a wild finish, as wild as a 31-28 game could be. They're a little high, I think, because they've played 8 games and nobody else has played 8 games. And the way this works is if you play, the more games you play, the more opportunity you have to accumulate points. And so then, the more points you have. They're plus 109 on the season. That's 16th best in the state. Coming up next for them is Lake Region and Noble. And that's the other hard game in Lake Region stretch. Number 2 is Cheverus. They're 6-0. They beat Windham this week 61-41. They're plus 161 on the season. That's ninth. They are, why does that say 60 to 8? 60.8 points per game. I told you this week's not going great. That's seventh best in the state. They're up next this week. They have Scarborough, Edward Little, and number 11, Gorham. And then number one, no surprise, Oxford Hills at 5-1. They beat Sanford this week 48-34, and then they blew out Brunswick on the road, and Brunswick is eighth. And so if you beat a team by almost 50 who is eighth, you're going to get a ton of points out of that, obviously. They are plus 92 on the season. Their strength of schedule is the second hardest schedule in the state so far. Up next, they have Windham. They go to number 27, Bangor, and then they have Mount Blue. So there's your top 10/15. So we'll count them down. 15 is Old Town, 14 is Coney, 13 Madomic, 12th is Biddeford, 11th is Gorham, 10th is Oceanside, 9th is Spruce Mountain, 8th is Brunswick, 7th is Caribou, 6th is Mount Ararat, 5th is Lawrence, 4th is Marshwood, 3rd is G&G, 2nd is Cheverus, and 1st is Oxford Hills, thanks to the big win over Brunswick. And Sam, if you're listening, the Brunswick head coach, Sam Farrell, I will stop talking about this game now because I'm sure you're tired of hearing about it. That's one of the games as a coach. You're like, no, we'll just throw that one out. That doesn't count. We're not doing that one anymore. All right, so let's move on to the boys. Okay, same thing. Number 15 is Valley. I saw Valley earlier this year, and they just hosed Wiscasset, and they are legit. Fisher Tewksbury is really good. Harry Lewis, there's maybe 5 teams in the state where he wouldn't be the starting point guard regardless of class. Number 14 is Oceanside. Number 13 is Machias. Number 12 is Mount Blue. And number 11 is Brewer. Brewer, you're almost there. I know you're trying to get into the top 10 because I'm going to hear about it on Twitter. You're very close. Brewer started the season 92nd, I think. They're all the way up to 11th. They are, I believe, 7-0. Really impressive turnaround from a 4-14 finish last year. Anyway, number 10 is Caribou. They're 6-1. They beat Washington Academy this week, 79-66. They are plus 173 on the season. That's 4th best in the state. They are the highest scoring team in the state, boys and girls, at 78.7 points per game. Whew. So up next this week, they have Foxcroft, and they are traveling to number 30, Orono, the defending champs. Number 9 is South Portland. They are 4-2. They beat Bonnie Eagle this week, 44-34. They are plus 31 on the season, but the strength of schedule, 5th hardest schedule in the state. So, yeah, all right. That makes sense. Next is at Deering. They have number 23, Scarborough, and then I'm pretty sure they have this one circled, number 37, Portland. Number 8 is Cheverus. They, of course, lost to Windham 59-55. Leo McNabb had 23 in that game. He's had a really good year so far, the reigning AA Player of the Year. He will most definitely be in the running for Mr. Basketball, I would assume. And they erased the 13-point deficit. They're plus 94 on the season. They are averaging 63.5 points a game. That's 18th best in the state. This week they have Massabesic. They're at number 22, Edward Little, and then they have Gorham. Number 7, okay, we're going to go on a little bit of a sidetrack here, is Mount Abram. Mount Abram, I had them 6-0, and then I started writing this up, was nearly done, realized that they're actually 7-0, because Boothbay can't be bothered to report their scores. And I found 7 missing Boothbay scores. 7! Where it's still December. 7 missing scores for one school. That's ridiculous. So how you get a missing score? Okay, so there's the process of finding the games, and it's like a small cottage industry of like me and Joe Bailey and Brian Barr and Tyler and all the people who are trying to bring you news of what's happening around the state, all looking for scores, mostly on Twitter. And so, it's a whole thing. And I usually, on a good night, I can get every game by like 10 o'clock. That's ideal. Maybe 10:30. And by 11, I give up. At 11, I've got to write the newsletter. The newsletter is 800 to 1,000 words usually. I've got to run the model so I can put the predictions for the next day's games. It's a whole thing. So you imagine, I got to write 800 to 1,000 words. I got to get everything in the other spreadsheet because I collect them in Google Sheets because there's the scoreboard and the scoreboard is Google Sheets. And that's super helpful. Everybody who's putting scores in there, that saves me so much time. Before the scoreboard, it would take me till midnight almost every night to get all the scores. So this is a much, much improved process. So then I got to get it in Excel, run the model, spit it out. That takes half hour or so to do it. And I got to write the newsletter. And if I'm lucky, I can get to bed by midnight. And then I have to be up at 7 to get the kid on the bus. So if I'm not lucky, it's 1 a.m. And then I'm on very little sleep. And even, and it all adds up. So anyway, so if the score is not reported by like 10 o'clock, 10:30, I'm going to miss it. And then I'm going to move on to the next day. And I'll usually check yesterday while I'm looking for scores to see if I can pick up any of the missing ones. And I was still missing 7 booth-based scores, which is ridiculous. You got to report your scores. Like, it's just do it. Tell somebody. Tell Varsity Maine, put it in Max Preps, put it just somewhere, and I will find it. Anyway, so that's my rant for the day. There's a lot of people who would be very happy if all of these teams would just report their scores by like 10 o'clock at night. You have no idea how much of a hassle it is. Anyway, Mount Abram is 7th. They're actually 7-0. I don't think that would move them up, having that extra score. I just didn't have the time to rerun it. This week they beat number 39 Mount View 68-63. They are plus 88 on the season. They have a percent perfect of 86.5%. What's a percent perfect, you say? Good question. Percent perfect is the total number of power ranking points you have available to you, and then the percent perfect is the percentage of them you earned. So 86.5 is very good. That's 9th best in the state. This week they have Carabec. Okay, rant over. Number 6, Falmouth, 5-1. They beat Kennebunk this week, 58-42. They are plus 50 on the season, and nothing really stands out about their profile. They're just Falmouth, just beating people. And their football team got recognized at the college football game at Fenway, which is very cool. Anyway, they have Marshwood next week and Brunswick, or this week, I should say. Number 5, it's Ellsworth. They're there, 6-1. They just beat number 56 Old Town, 61-29. That's a motivated team that is very upset they lost earlier in the year. They are plus 136 on the season and would be higher if not for the dunk technical, which is a crime against basketball. 136 is good for 12th in the state. They are averaging 66.3 points a game. That's good for 11th. This week they will head to MDI. Number 4 is Windham. They're 5-0. They beat Cheverus 59-55, the defending AA champs, sitting at 4th. Why, you ask? Because they've only played 5 games. That's it. Just played 5 games. It's real close. It's hard to move up. Once you're in the top 10, you get into the top 5, the teams get really close together. They are plus 72 on the season. Here they're going to get a chance to move up. They've got Oxford Hills, Gorham, and then they head to Bangor. So they'll make up some of the game deficit, a little bit of it. Number 3 is Madomic Valley. The Panthers are 6-0. They beat Mount Ararat 68-52 in that game. I watched a little bit of the feed of that, and I think Gabe Lash had 10 rebounds in the first quarter, which is nuts. He's a lot of fun to watch. I know I'm biased, but he's a lot of fun to watch. They are plus 166 on the season. That's good for 6th in the state. They are allowing 35.7 points a game. That's good for 5th. And their percent perfect is 3rd best in the state at 98.8%. Next, they have number 19 Spruce Mountain. They are hosting them on the 2nd, whatever day the 2nd is. Both those teams are undefeated. Jace Bessie looks like he might make a run at he broke the Spruce Mountain record for most points, career points, but the Spruce Mountain, it's new. The J Livermore Falls record, he might be coming for that, and I meant to put the name of the person in this thing I'm looking at. And I forgot. Anyway, so that's going to be a big game. They're both unbeaten. And then they will head to Camden for a rivalry game. Number 2 is York. They're 7-0. They beat number 34 GNG on the road in a game that was real close. I think it was like a 2-point game under a minute left. 70-64 was the final. They're plus 128 on the season. That's 10th best. They are the 4th highest scoring team in the state at 71 points a game. And their percent perfect is 92.8%. That is good enough for 5th. They have coming up, they will head to Cape and then they will head to Wells. So they might drop a little bit because I don't think there's a lot of points there. And Windham should be moving up. If Madomic beats Spruce, they'll move up. So York might drop to 4 next week. We'll see. We'll see. And then number 1, it's Jameer Rose and Noble. 6-0. They beat Gorham 69-50. If you had told me 4 years ago that Noble would get to number 1 in the power rankings when they were like in the 110s for year after year, I never would have believed you. But great job all around there. The coaches, the players, everybody. What a turnaround and what a win for the idea of relegation. Such a cool story. I think they'd be doing fine in AA though. They're plus 67 on the season. They're averaging 64.5 points a game. That's good for 16th. And I think it was this week that Jameer Rose got to 1,000 points in a game where he had a triple-double, which, hey, if you're going to get to 1,000 points, like really get to 1,000 points. They are, did I say 64.5 points a game? That's 16th best. And they have the 18th hardest schedule so far on the air. This week, they are at Brunswick. They have number 20 Thornton Academy. And then they are at GNG. So there's your boys' top 15: Valley, Oceanside, Machias, Mount Blue, and Brewer. Then number 10 is Caribou. Number 9, South Portland. Number 8, Cheverus. Number 7, Mount Abram. Number 6, Falmouth. Number 5, Ellsworth. Number 4, Windham. Number 3, Madomic Valley. Number 2, York. And number 1 is Noble. All right, so then been keeping track of the wins. We had the wins draft on here with Adam and Tyler and Mike Mandel. And let's throw up a update of the standings here. This is going pretty good for me. I'm not going to lie. 34-1. The Wisdom girls, they lost a game, but it was, what are you going to do? I was really happy with my picks when we made them, and they're outperforming my expectations. I felt pretty good about Madomic and Penobscot Valley, and I felt pretty good about Lawrence too, but Brewer going 7-0 is just exceeding my expectations by quite a bit. I thought they'd be maybe like 5-2, 4-3 right now, something like that. And so you can see I'm 34-1 if you're just listening to this on the season. Adam is second at 28-7. And then Tyler Cruz is 24-9. He's had a little bit of bad luck with the Oronoque girls. They're 1-4. So that's not helping him in the category of teams that missed the playoffs. And then Mike Mandel is 21-13. The Winthrop boys have failed him, as have the Southern Aroostook girls, which, those are normally pretty solid picks. So we'll keep updating that and see if they can make a run at it. And I think that's going to pretty much do it. It's going to be a big week this week. We've got that Madomic Spruce game, couple of other big games around the state. If you haven't updated your subscription to the paid subscription, the tourney odds are going to start coming out pretty soon. And I was toying with the idea of getting a PC, a Windows-only PC, because they've rolled out some AI thing for Excel where it's like AI and Python or whatever. And I think it would do the tourney odds in like 10 minutes as opposed to 3 hours. So I'm toying with that idea, but then it's the whole thing. Anyway, so that's going to pretty much do it. Let me find the thing. This has been a production of MaineBasketballRankings.com, your source for the most comprehensive coverage of Maine high school basketball from Ashland to York and everywhere in between. This podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts and a bunch of places you don't. If you enjoy it, please leave a nice review because it really does help out with algorithms. Tell your friends. Tell your enemies. Thanks for listening.